Hospitality Meets is brought to you by RotaCloud, the simple workforce management software for hospitality teams. RotaCloud lets you create and share rotas, record attendance, and manage your team's annual leave, all in less time than it takes to make a brew. It can also make life easier for your staff, allowing them to check their rotas, request holiday, and even pick up extra shifts, all through the RotaCloud mobile app. Start your 30-day free trial today by visiting rotacloud.com/Phil and find out how much easier managing your team can be. Welcome to Hospitality Meets with me, Phil Street, where each week we take a light-hearted look into the stories and individuals that make up the wonderful world of hospitality. Today's guest is Dan Barnes, founder and managing director of learning and development consultancy Flourish Hospitality. Coming up on today's show, Dan sets the tone for what we can expect.
You are over-promising and I will under-deliver.
Phil goes all cinematic. Going to get some swelling strings on in a minute and reveal the big twist. And it all becomes too much for Dan.
Yeah, let me go away and cry for an hour and then I'll think about it.
All that and so much more as I chat through Dan's awesome story so far. Dan is a natural storyteller and he drops crackers all the way through, as well as revealing his passion for his craft at every turn. So please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give us a like and a share wherever you can. Enjoy. And a massive Hospitality Meets welcome to the always awesome Dan Barnes.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you to say.
I thought when I was thinking about that, I was thinking, is that kind? Or have I just set you up for a massive fall?
You are over-promising and I will under-deliver, but I'll try and...
Oh, brilliant. Well, see, you're already over delivering with comedy like that. You will always be welcome on the show. How are you anyway? How's life?
Really well. Yeah, really good. Thank you. Very good. How about you?
Yeah, good. Yes, I don't know if anybody ever asked me that back. I'm a bit confused.
It's hospitality, no?
No, really good. I'm glad to be here chatting to you today because we have been trying to do this for a little bit of time, and I fully appreciate that's 100% on me and my schedule. But it's great to be here and chatting to you about the world of L&D and beyond, probably.
Yes, thank you. It's been a long time coming, but I've been really excited about it. Really pleased to be on.
Brilliant. Yeah. So, well, for those who don't know who you are, just explain what it is that you do.
My elevator pitch. So my name is Dan Barnes. I'm the MD of Flourish Hospitality, which is a learning and development consultancy. It's me, really, L&D man for hire. So I go around to hotels and restaurants, all areas of hospitality, and I work on ways to elevate learning and development in businesses, sort of pre-openings to openings, helping with leaders, frontline staff to basically figure out a way that they can engage with their teams better, and in doing so, sort of engage with their guests.
Brilliant. Good elevator pitch. I'll take, yeah.
I've done a lot of pitches over the last year and a half, Phil. I'm trying to get it down to a minimum.
Well, but this is the thing, right? When you go into business for yourself as well, you obviously do that because you've got a skill set that you know about, and then nobody tells you that you've got to learn all of the other skill sets as well.
Yeah, which is why the first thing I did was outsource my accounting to someone that knows everything about numbers. I can guarantee you I will never be offering accountancy or finance qualifications in my consultancy.
Yes, indeed. But the pitching and the selling.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, selling is learning and development. When you're in L&D, you're basically an internal salesman for the brand, right? So there is an element of that in learning and development. So that's quite, selling yourself is a little bit different rather than selling something else or a different brand. But I found that that's not too bad. And the pitches are like very elaborate slide decks, but it's definitely been a learning curve.
Yeah. But I do have a deep-rooted belief that in the end, we're all salespeople. To the moment when somebody asks you, what do you want for your dinner? That person then is trying to sell what they want for dinner,
Except when the other person says, I don't know, what do you want? And then you have a back and forth for about 5 minutes. All right, we'll do takeaway, it's fine.
I think they call that the Netflix principle, don't they?
Exactly.
You spend 2 hours figuring out what you're going to watch and actually don't watch anything in the end. But anyway, yes, right. Well, let's get to this then. I'd take us all the way back to the beginning of your career. And how did you get involved in hospitality in the first place?
26 years ago. So when I was 16, I had a friend who was in the year above me at school, and I was looking for a job. And he said, I work in a local hotel in town in a restaurant in there. Let me ask if there's something available for you. His name was Ed, and he got me my first ever role in hospitality as a runner in a fine dining restaurant in De Vere Belton Woods Hotel in Grantham when I was 16.
Right.
So many years ago. So operations and F&B is sort of how I got into the business.
Yeah, that hotel's still alive, I think.
It's still around. Yeah, it's still there. Yeah, I moved back to my hometown about 4 years ago, and it's still live and kicking. It's got a great golf course, and I've not been back to that hotel in a while, but it was definitely a huge reason why I'm in the industry today.
Right, right, right. So was that just one of those things as a young person you were like at this point in time I've got no real clue as to what I want to do. Somebody's put something in front of me that sounds quite interesting. Let's just give that a
Yeah.
crack.
Yeah, it's weird. I'd never done hospitality before. I literally done, I think, about 1 month working in this sort of, what was it called, fabric warehouse. You know, when you're like 16 and you just need a job and you just want to work
Yeah.
wherever. And yeah, that definitely wasn't for me. I'm definitely not retail. Hospitality was the one that it. You know, it's weird. I've heard it on quite a few podcasts when I speak to people about saying it's a hospitality bug, but I always think a bug sounds like something that you catch
A
that you
disease,
don't
yes.
that you don't want. But it's sort of, I would say, it's it's definitely a spark was lit in me when I was 16. And even though I did what my parents encouraged me to do, which was, finish my GCSEs and my A levels, and whilst I was working part time back when, as a casual worker, 0 hours, I would love it. I'd love my first shift, I think, is the most my feet ever hurt in my entire life. I remember it so clearly. It was like the day before Valentine's Day. So it was a restaurant full of tables of two. And the kitchen must have been about 150 meters away from the restaurant. So when you were literally running, taking the food into the restaurant, and all you would do is take it into the restaurant and put the tray down and then go away, because
Oh, not
you were not
trained in
responsible
interaction.
enough to be able to deliver and talk to people. You could smile and you could pick food up and you could polish plates and cutlery, but that was it. But no, that time, those 4 years, even when I was at university, my plan was always to study history and go be a history teacher. Um,
Really?
yeah, genuinely, yeah.
How'd that work out for you, Dan?
Um, well, I love history podcasts, but no, it's weird. I was once asked that in a job interview many years ago. So, history degree, how did that help? And I said, well, any degree is about putting together an argument. So you look at evidence, you put together an argument, and you write your version of what you think, and
Yep.
that's essentially what you do when you write training. You have a pitch, you
That's
have
an
something that you want to put
excellent
across.
callback loop, by the way. Excellent.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, I was thinking on my feet in that interview,
Yeah.
and it is, and yeah. So I would go back every university. Have reading week, half term, summer holidays, and I would pretty much work full time. And I think, and I've reflected on it a lot. One of the main, probably the main reason why I chose this industry, it had to have been the people that I was working with at that young age, like the way that they impacted me. That I loved hanging out with them. I'm a people person anyway, and just learning everything about amazing food and great service. It was a really informative time.
Yeah, it's really active learning as well, right? Like but you don't realize it's happening, kind of.
No,
There's so
no,
much
it's
happening in the moment.
yeah, it was such an impressionable period of my life. And even at university, I would my third year at university, I decided to go work in the uni bars, and then you make some of your best friends working in the uni bars. There's a guy called Roger there who referred to us as your caterers and entertainers. He said you're catertainers, and I was like,
Okay,
okay, I
tennis. Very good.
love it,
I
love
like
it.
to see what you've
Never
done there.
use that now in training. I mean, I love a cheesy thing in training. Anyone that's been trained by me will know I love a bit of cheese, but that kind of stuck with me. But yeah, and I finished my degree, and I started to do some sort of just some teacher training experience, hospitality just drew me. I thought, no, this is what I want to do as a career. This is something that I love. This is something that I could really do. So I decided to sort of step up at Belton Woods in food and beverage, supervisory role at first, and then my sort of hospitality career proper took off when I was 21. When I really kind of said, no, this is something that I really want to do as a career.
Right, 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 right. So what transition did you make then in terms of becoming serious about it as opposed to just filling in the rest of your life with it?
That's funny. I mean, I as you know, I remember my first supervisory shift when you get to wear a suit for the first time. That still stands like it's a
Made it. Done it.
proud moment. You get to wear a suit,
I'm
and
an actual adult now.
an actual adult. Yeah, you get to
Yeah.
wear a suit rather than a waistcoat. You're part of the leadership team.
Yeah, and now you can interact with the guests as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, I used to come back from university during reading weeks and stuff, and I'd come in and there'd be new staff that start, and they'd be like, "Who's this cocky guy coming in and telling me what to do?" And met one of my best friends, still best friends with now, that I met there, and I said, "Who do you think he is coming in and doing?" I was just really passionate about it from a very very early age, and learned a lot of lessons there. And then as you do, I think one of the things, particularly in your early 20s, you just want to progress. I'm very driven. I just wanted to progress as quickly as possible. And I had a really good mentor when I was at Belton Woods. Is still around in hospitality today, called Steve Dunford, who is, I think, is regional GM, regional area manager for a hotel group now. But he decided to take on a few people and mentor them, and just sort of help them to sort of think about how they're going to navigate their career, and did this sort of visualization exercise with me, where it's, where do you want to be in 18 months time? And you could say, so I want to work in London in a hotel. And okay, well, that's not really specific enough. And he made me go into the real details of where do you want to live? How much is your rent going to be? What's the hotel going to be that you're working in? What's your commute to work looking like? Really kind of this like visualization piece at that age.
Yeah.
And that sort of, I'd love to say, because it feels like a LinkedIn post that told me the power of mentorship and hospitality, but it doesn't. When you're 21, you're just like, somebody is investing in me. Someone wants to see me grow. So I paid him back by leaving. And there was a Marriott in my hometown, and there was a job there as I think it was a restaurant manager role. And of course, you think, oh, I can do this. I can leave, but I wasn't prepared to do it. I went for the interview, and the HR manager at the time said, "Look, we don't think you're ready to be a restaurant manager, but we have a graduate management scheme with Marriott that we'd love to put you on and be a representative from this hotel." So that's when I sort of joined Marriott on a graduate management scheme for a couple of years, sort of focusing on food and beverage, and that was great. Marriott's all standards, and getting your keeping your Marriott flag above the door, and loads of like learning and development opportunities with them. And that was a really, really good experience for me, like trying out all the different food and beverage areas and meeting people from around the country. That was really fun.
Yeah, I've not had that many people on the show from big brands so far.
Yeah.
If you're listening, let's have more. But the one thing
Don't be afraid.
Yeah, indeed, I'm a nice enough guy. The one thing that I always kind of had in my head, and maybe you can kind of confirm my own bias towards this, I don't know, but is that a grad scheme in any one of the big companies like Marriott, Hilton, IHG, these guys, is just a wonderful foundation.
It's great. It is great, but it sort of in retrospect, when you look back, you then think you're better than what you are. Right. You're a graduate. Therefore you deserve X, Y, and Z. But and I've run grad schemes later on in my career, and you're so young and driven, and you want to be a GM by the time you're 30, and everyone has these sort of goals there.
Where does that goal come from? Everybody's got that goal.
Everybody, well, because if you think about it, when you're on a grad scheme, it's mostly the GMs that mentor you, right? So you and also when you're a grad, you're quite new to the industry, so you don't, I suppose, realize the different avenues that you can go down as a career in hospitality, and only through that experience. And I've done grad schemes when I've run them before, where you can stay in one particular provision, like stay in food and beverage. Or you can experience all the different areas and see what it is that as long as you're passionate about hospitality, you can find a career anyway. Look at me, I'm passionate about hospitality, and I found my love for sort of learning and development. And I think it was probably started around Marriott. They used to have passports for success, where you would train. Basically, it's a training program, and you train people through. Don't know if they still have it, and they would have things like the daily basics. And still today, daily basic number 7, I remember it so clearly. It's how to deal with complaints: learn, listen, empathize, apologize, react, notify. And that's something I still use in training to this day. I don't know if there's a copyright infringement in there. You might have to edit that out. But it's,
they'll be happy, won't they, for
be
sharing
happy.
Yeah,
that. Every brand has one, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so and there I probably, I learned, when you're young, you learn, you make mistakes. And I made a really big mistake in my time at Marriott that taught me very early on about the importance of confidentiality and like keeping information to yourself. I'm happy to share the story. I don't think it's that big a deal, but it's something that I was a graduate at Grantham, and I used to have a mentor at another property, and there was talk of potentially selling the Marriott hotel. And I was told by my mentor at the time, look, this might happen, keep it to yourself, but make sure that you but don't worry, you're still gonna have a job, you can move here. And I said, oh, that's great. And no mention of not mentioning it to anybody, but I should have known. But I was like 21,
straight into the staff canteen. You'll never guess what.
No, I had a PowerPoint presentation. No, nothing like that. But it's but I went into the hotel, and I told one person,
right,
and literally by the afternoon,
that was enough.
And I learned at a very, very, very early age just to keep. If if you know something, you're privileged to information. That's particularly important when you're working in the HR field, obviously, and you get more senior in the industry. But it's nice to have that information, to know things that other people don't know. But there's a reason for that, and trust is really important. And I
Yeah.
learned that at a very, very young age. Thankfully, I didn't make a bigger mistake in the future. But like anything, right, it's the best way that people learn.
For sure. Yeah,
Which
yeah,
is
yeah. And do you know, there's probably a balance to be had there as well, right? In terms of, yes, if confidential information like that. But I have also experienced the other end of that spectrum whereby
yeah,
something has been kept confidential when it probably shouldn't have been.
yeah.
I remember being out for dinner with a guy, a hotel GM, won't name, obviously, because that's confidential.
Oh,
Um,
go on. I did. I'm
yeah.
joking.
And literally in the middle of maybe our main course or whatever, that's kind of irrelevant. He gets a notification come through on his phone, and he looks at it and goes, "I think you're going to have to excuse me." Okay, why? What's up? Yeah, our ownership have just announced that they're selling,
Wow.
and he said I knew that and was told, that it's confidential, and
And
then
then
the
they
like,
just announced it
and they
publicly.
just announced it publicly in a
Oh,
press release, and he hadn't told any of his team
oh my
because he'd been
goodness.
told. So, there's the other end of the spectrum, right? In terms of information is privileged, but still, come on, guys, just
Look at the
get.
impact that can make on your
Oh
credibility
God,
as a leader,
totally,
even though it wasn't your
totally.
mistake, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
didn't do it. Crikey.
Absolutely. As it
And
happens,
that
he's a
person's,
proper legend and rescued it perfectly, of course. But
oh, of course, yeah, yeah.
but yeah, it definitely, yeah. So yeah, information flow. That's the
Yeah, yeah. The more
yeah,
the more you get, more you climb up, the more you know, and the more that. I mean, I do believe that open and transparency and honesty is really important. As a leader, it's really important. But there are some bits that, or some pieces of information that and also you might have information and that things might change. So you don't want to be telling people stuff knowing that it could be in a week's time or 2 weeks time, that information could be out of date. Like, you need to know all the facts before you
yeah,
can communicate that out.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Well, yes. So how did things progress from there?
Yeah, it was good. But again, I was there for what, 2 years, and then I did, I think, what again, young, ambitious, driven, thinking I knew more than what I did, and I thought, no, I wanted to move down to London. My partner at the time wanted to move down to London as well, and rather than thinking about what opportunities are available in London for Marriott, I just decided I thought, what else is down there? And I found it's probably the one blip on my CV that was the biggest mistake, which was, I interviewed for a role I won't mention the place, in a food, you'll probably find it on my LinkedIn anyway, as a food and beverage manager for a privately run health club in Basingstoke. And I thought, I can live in West London and communicate to Basingstoke. And I lasted 3 months, and it was privately run. I'd come from big brands for the past 2 years, and I
Structure.
couldn't quite make the transition, and I wasn't the right fit, and that really kind of made me jolt and think, what is it that I am passionate about? And that's when I think I really kind of thought, actually, it's learning and development. I love training. I love inspiring people, and I'm confident in front of in front of a classroom, and I love to develop people. And I saw a job role for HIT training, as an trainee apprenticeship assessor. And I thought, well, that sounds interesting. So I went for an interview with them, and I got the job. And then I sort of moved into my first sort of formal learning and development role, but through apprenticeships. God, when was that? That was back in 2008. Yeah, so quite a long time ago. I did 4 years with apprenticeships for two different companies, and that was a real eye opener. I mean, I know that a lot of people listening probably understand what apprenticeships are, but essentially you're not really training. You're sort of mentoring and coaching and building evidence of somebody's competencies, so that
Mm.
to prove to sort of government standards that they can do the job, or can do a job that they're about to go into. And I went from essentially hotels to then having a sort of a caseload of about 30 learners in all walks of hospitality life. So you could be training somebody in a customer service qualification in a Starbucks, and then the next day it's a professional cookery qualification with a school dinner lady.
Yeah.
So it was the complete opposite ends of the hospitality spectrum. And that was a blast. It really kind of taught me about how to train people, and how to essentially how to coach, because it's mostly one-on-one training. So I did that with HIT for 2 years, and sort of grew into a sort of a regional role, like looking after the south of London with like a team of assessors, and then transitioned to another company which no longer exists, called Charnwood Training. And there it was really focusing on, I remember very clearly, there was two big clients they got, which was Lock Fine and Green King. and spirits.
Good
Actually, so
size. Good size.
three big contracts, and sort of growing that from literally, I think, a team of 4 assessors, and we'd have to travel all around the country to then eventually having a large team under me, sort of looking after London. And during that time, again, you meet everybody from all walks of life in hospitality, and you see that it's not that different in whatever area that you're working in.
Yeah.
So I did that for 4 years, and about 3 years in, hotels drew me back in. It's like just when I thought I was out. And I saw a role
for anybody who doesn't understand that. That's
that's
a Godfather reference there.
Godfather reference. Yeah. I'm sure everybody knows that.
I mean, you think, right? But yeah.
Thank you for providing context. As an L&D professional, I should have known that. As Al Pacino says in Godfather Part 3. I did that for 3. On the 3rd year, I saw a role for, I think it was a group. Initially, it was a group learning and development manager for Edwardian Group London. So at the time, owned the Mayfair, and then about 10 or 12 hotels, sort of around mostly in London, but then I think they had Guildford and Manchester as well. And I went for an interview, and I didn't get it, but the head of HR at the time said, we decided to go for somebody else, but we really like you in the interview. And if anything, as they do, you must have said it a lot when you recruited people, if something else becomes available.
I mean, look, as long as the person on the other end is exactly as you say, worthy, then yes, of course, because, and I suppose this is even more pronounced when you are a brand. And I've seen companies do some wonderful things around how to keep people interested in your brand, even if you weren't able to offer them a job. And, because that's powerful, because what you want to do is create this pot of disciples, who are just like, oh my God, I want to work there. There's nothing hugely. Right now. And then, you've effectively, it's recruitment completed it, mate.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird, I mean, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but it's kind of relevant a lot to kind of what you were just saying. But my time at Peninsula really taught me that, because they hire very much to the values. And even if you're not, so I would be involved in a lot of interviews during the pre-opening phase, trying to build the team together. And even if that person wasn't the right fit for you, and they probably wouldn't be the right fit for the company, you still need to make sure that their experience is positive. Like, you need to, when you're being interviewed by somebody you need to represent the brand. So even if you're not successful at that time, they go away and tell other people about that amazing experience that they had. I could talk a little bit about that, later on, but and it helps to build the brand in a market where people don't know the brand yet as well. Because it was a brand new hotel. But it's really, I completely agree. It's really, really important.
Yeah. So pulling you into hotels, didn't get the job with Edwardian Group.
But then I got a phone call. One year later, we're looking at building it, expanding it. Would you like to come in? I was like, yes, I would love that. I had no classroom training experience at that point, and I think when you talk to, I really think when you talk to a lot of L&D pros in hospitality, a lot of people falling into it's not the right word, but I get asked a lot, what formal qualifications do you have? And I did my CIPD level 5 later on in life, but I don't have any formal qualifications on training. It was entirely learning as I was going on, and I just have a confidence talking in front of people that helps. So I think got that
call it blagging it, don't they?
It's not blagging it. No. Yeah, it's a little bit. Yeah.
No, we're all blagging it. We're all blagging it.
No, and you know what? I'd tell you, it is blagging a little bit. Yeah. No, I think when you do, I think when you realize that, and I talk about hospitality, like learning and development in hospitality. Learning and development is the one truly positive role where every interaction with a colleague is positive. Everything.
Nice. I hadn't thought
it
of that.
Is.
Yeah.
It is.
I totally see that.
You look at any other HR profession. In recruitment, you've got to let people down. In HR side, you've got to do grievances and disciplinaries. Whereas in learning and development, if you're good at it and you can build a rapport, which is essentially hospitality skills, and people see that you are there to help them, every interaction is positive. And once you realise that, it's true. It's true.
Look at the amount of applications for L&D jobs that are going to go through the roof when people start listening to this.
No, don't do me out of a job. I have a consultancy.
No. It's also shocking. It's also shocking.
No, there's so many bad things. No, it's so positive, and that was my my time at Edwardian was great. There was a great sort of central HR team, and I did a lot there. I learned a lot. I had a great colleague in Andrea Varga, good mentor, and Wendy Mencken there as well, who was the HR manager at the time. And I learned, it was like you said about doing these podcasts. You know, you kind of get an MA in learning and development through the conversations that you have. And in my experience there, that really helped me set the sort of foundations of what I was going to be as an L&D professional. So you have, because it was also affiliated with a big brand, you had these kind of corporate training that you would need to do. You had the company induction, the orientation. Then you had the kind of the flexibility to create things as well, and you know, managing the grad schemes and putting together grad assessment days. And it's just every day is varied, so you really don't have monotony when you're in learning and development. And about a year and a half into that, people, they sort of knew my food and beverage background. And there was a big emphasis on food and beverage in Edwardian at the time, loads of restaurant rebrands and rebuilds. And they wanted to build this sort of central food and beverage team in Edwardian. And they asked me if I could go in and look after L&D specifically for food and beverage. So that was really rewarding. I sort of from scratch built a food and beverage academy at their New Providence Wharf property. So you would get any new hire that came in, they'd spend 5 days with me. Sort of teaching them how to work in hospitality, training them on their particular menus and assessing them, and trying to come up with a sort of a philosophy that would sort of bridge all of that together. Because again, you have to have like a theme. I think it's something that kind of runs through what it's about. And I put together this 5-day program. And the director of F&B at the time, I remember so clearly, you know, like the power of feedback. And I used to take feedback very badly. Everyone does. And no one likes criticism. I don't think there's anyone that says I welcome criticism.
I think we all claim that that's like that's the pinnacle, right? When you understand that there's no failure, only feedback. But if that feedback's pretty cutting, then it takes a very strong person to go, thanks very much for that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, let me go away and cry for an hour, then I'll think about it.
Do I still have a job?
Exactly. Yeah. And, you know, and that's happened to me a few times in my career, and I think a lot of the times when you get feedback at the time, you take it very personally. And I don't know about you, but once I go away and I think about it and I reflect on it, that's when I act on it.
Yeah, totally.
And I put this 5-day program together, and he said to me, yeah, it's all right. It's all right. And I was just holding back the tears.
I've poured my heart and soul into this.
You don't appreciate me. But he said there needs to be a through line. I really think there needs to be something that sort of carries all this together. And of course, I'm still like relatively new to L&D at the time. And I said, okay, let me go away and think about it. And I did this, and I titled the program, went away for a weekend, and I put a lot of work into redoing it. Don't ask me to remember all the 5 points on it because it was a long time ago now. It was like 2012.
You remembered Marriott?
I remember Marriott. Yeah, no, I remember a few of them. So I come up with this program called, what was it? The Service World's a Stage, and I sort of likened working in hospitality to performing on a stage, right?
Wow, and genius.
And I know, but as I've got older, I reflect on that a little bit more, and I think it's not quite right because I genuinely believe great people in hospitality are genuine. So it's not about acting.
Not acting. Very good. Also genius.
It's not acting. Yeah, it's not about acting. But I had things like know your script, you know, about knowing the menu, and I can't remember any of this now. But essentially, it was about when you're performing, when the lights are on, you're performing, and that would be kind of the through line of it all. And we used that and opened up a lot of restaurants with them. So there was the brand Steak and Lobster. I don't know if that's still kicking about. Steak and Lobster, the original Mayfair Kitchen, Scoff and Banter. They even opened a fish and chip shop in Leicester Square, which you know, complete. But it was the perfect location. Great chippy.
I can imagine that they were flying out.
Yeah, it's no longer there. But at the time, it was great. And this program, and I'm really proud. Like the program got. I mean, it's 2014. It's 11 years ago now, but it was recognised as a development program. It got a Springboard Award for development, something like F&B development program or something like that back in 2014. So I was really proud of that achievement because I really think it was setting people up to. But again, learning from mistakes on this, it was quite strict. I sort of set this bar of menu knowledge. And every day you need to pass this menu knowledge 80% or more to pass. And if you didn't pass and then retake it, you didn't pass, you wouldn't start. And that's, I look back now and I think that's not it's not the right way, it wouldn't be the right way of doing it now, and that's very kind of old school kind of approach to it, I suppose.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so real great positives from that experience, and some great people. Some of my best friends that I still see now, sort of made them at Edwardian. I think that's kind of a through line to everything, right? The people that you meet along the way and you
Totally.
connect with.
But also,
Um,
it sounds like at this point in time as well, like you're really beginning to find your groove.
mm,
You have that thing that everybody talks about and writes about, but we all have to go find out, which is our
mm,
purpose and all of that kind of stuff. And yes, there's mistakes while you're figuring that out. Of course, there is. But also, you probably are at this point in time are now beginning to look at it a little bit like not like work. You know,
yeah.
you're
Oh yeah.
you're
I
beginning
mean,
to make a
it's
difference to things and people and all of that
yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's so true. I don't think I've ever felt my job as being work. And I think was that quote, and I thought it's a
Don't
quite
say that out
common
loud.
quote. But no, it is work, but it's enjoyable. Stuff I'm doing now is it's fantastic. It's hard work, but it's stuff that I love doing, and it's working with people that I love doing, and in an industry that I absolutely love working in, and that I'm really passionate about. And uh, and I think if you find a job that you love, you feel like you never work a day in your life, right?
Mm,
It's and I think the more you kind of progress up in hospitality, and I've worked with worked with sort of more sort of high level brands as well. You work with more professionals, and I think that it's like two. You talk about this in training. There's like two P's, like passion equals professionalism. Right? If you're passionate about what you do, you are driven to want to learn, want to be better, want to be great, want to succeed.
yeah.
But I think obviously, thinking about the podcast, the the bug or the spark, or using my logo, the seed that sprouts the Flourish hospitality, is the buzz you get in ops when things go perfectly well.
Mm,
Like the best shift. I know you've worked in ops a lot as well. Whenever you plan the perfect shift and everyone's enjoying themselves, everything's going as you planned it, staff are happy, the the guests are loving it. Selling champagne. There's nothing better than that feeling. And I think the closest I ever get to that is training, is standing up in a training room and seeing someone have that light bulb moment in the room when you're saying something that clicks.
yeah.
But I think you do when you move out of ops into other areas. I think you spend your life sort of chasing that ops high.
Yeah.
That I think is what is realistically, that's probably the bug that a lot of people catch when
It's
looking at
euphoric
industry.
for sure. And as a guy who's not really ever planned anything in his life, who just kind of goes with the flow and takes the opportunities as they present themselves. Even I was able to see the value in the planning, and and obviously you have to have the skill set to be able to go around the plan when the plan doesn't work,
Yeah,
which is a whole different conversation. But
yeah,
nevertheless,
resilience,
when
right?
it clicks into play, and
Mm.
as you say, like it's just a euphoric place to be
Oh, it is.
because everything's just seamless. It's just
It
working,
is.
and you think
Yeah,
we did this. We absolutely
yeah,
did this. Doesn't happen very
yeah.
often, by the way, in my life. But
No,
yeah.
no, and it's of course it does. Don't do yourself a disservice.
Oh,
But the
I've learned to take the joy in the unplanned, and actually, much like the failure is feedback thing. Actually, for me now, the unplanned elements of what happens in life, because that is basically life.
yeah,
The Without going too deep, is actually where the real joy for me is that it's the
yeah.
unexpected twist. Effectively, I live my life like an M. Night Shyamalan, or whatever his name is, movie.
Beautifully pronounced.
Yeah,
Beautifully pronounced.
yeah. It took me 27 attempts
Are
to
you
get
are
that
you
right.
going to end this podcast revealing you're a ghost? You've been a ghost the
Yeah,
whole time.
I'm gonna get some swelling strings on in a minute and reveal the big
Yeah,
twist.
yeah.
Yes.
But it's funny you mentioned about feedback. Like feedback is failure, but at the same time, like you can realize your own mistakes and learn from them. But it's when things when a leader points it out at the wrong time, it can be
That's fatal.
absolutely devastating.
Yeah.
When and that happened to me at Belton Woods, like when I was very young, like 2021, first shift I ever ran, and it was a proper important shift. It was a New Year's Eve shift, from scratch, and everything was going beautifully. And I had the high, I had the buzz, and I was really joyful. And it came to, I just don't know why these things stick in your head, right? The
Yeah. Oh,
the
it's all part of the experience, right?
it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? The haggis Haggis put out at the end.
Oh,
And for
careful where
some
you go
reason,
next with this.
no, don't worry. It's nothing about haggis. I love haggis. So one thing I missed and wish I could travel to Scotland more is I enjoy haggis at breakfast. I think
Oh
it's
God, with a
stunning.
fried egg on
Oh
top.
my
Oh my God.
goodness me.
Yeah, I
Oh
know.
dear.
I know.
Okay, it's not lunchtime yet, but
No, I know.
and for some reason I decided to. Do you remember in I don't know, back of house areas they'd often put cutlery through in these like blue like mini blue crates that I think originally had
Yes.
mushrooms delivered in, right? Do you remember those?
Yes.
And yeah, like it's weird the things you sort of visualize
It
and
is.
remember.
Yeah.
And
I still don't
we
really know
thought,
why
look,
that happened, but
no, but it's handy. It goes through the machine,
yeah.
and it doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
Um, and um, and I decided at the end of the shift when the haggis is coming up, people who drank the champagne to simply just to put the cutlery in that outside for the guests. And I got absolutely slated by the F&B manager at the time. One would argue, not rightly so. I mean, obviously, it was the wrong thing to put out, but there's a time when it's good to deliver feedback, and there's a time when it's not. I just come off a high of a great shift, and I was feeling really positive, and then it just went, just
Yeah.
dropped to the floor. And there's nothing wrong with being critical. There's nothing wrong with giving feedback in the right way, but when 90% of your learning takes place on the job, so that's on the job learning and coaching, mentoring. Every interaction that a leader has with you is a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, I just remember that. I tell that story a little bit in training as well. I just remember it so clearly. It really went from a high to a low, like instantly.
5-star hospitality means having the right people in the right place at the right time, and that's exactly where RotaCloud can help. RotaCloud is the online platform that makes planning rotas, recording attendance, and managing annual leave easy. Its simple, drag-and-drop interface lets you create and share rotas with your team in minutes, while our built-in budgeting tools mean you'll know exactly how much you're spending on staffing before sending the rota out. RotaCloud also makes life easier for your staff, allowing them to check their rotas, request time off, and pick up extra shifts, all through the RotaCloud mobile app. Start your 30-day free trial today by visiting rotacloud.com/Phil and find out how much easier managing your team can be.
But it could be pivotal in all the wrong ways, right? In terms of what that you then think to yourself, is this where I want to be? Am I cut for this? And the questions that could lead you to a decision that said, no, I don't want to be here. If this is,
but also it may not necessarily be about your love of or wanting to stay in the industry, but it can certainly impact your desire to work in that place you're working in. And think, because the vast majority of people end up moving jobs. Sometimes it's for a promotion or what have you, but a big influencer can be the way with work, the culture and the way that you're managed.
Yeah.
And if that's not done right, it can be detrimental to people, to the sort of retention of staff in the business.
For sure. Yeah. I just want to go back to training. You touched upon the fact that the role at Edwardian Group was the first time that you did classroom training.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the first time that you stood up in front of a classroom, when because as you say, nobody trains you for this, right? Like nobody trains you to go and train people.
No, it's funny. I wish I could say I did badly, but that actually did pretty well, which makes my head really massive. Get close to the screen. It was the orientation, and I'd been given a sort of a small section of it to learn, and it was at the Grafton Hotel in one of their basement training rooms, and it was new members of staff that are coming in, and I was training it with the other group training manager, Andrea, and I'd just been prepared. I actually remember, like 2 days before, I would practice it. Like, I would have my laptop open at home in my flat, and I would practice what I was saying, because I thought if I can visualize it, and I do that a lot, if I can visualize what I'm doing, it sort of calms the nerves down. And I was quite prepared. I have my notes all printed out, but you're never going to remember everything that's in front of you. So you just highlight key areas, and it went reasonably well. I mean, I'm a very different trainer to what I was, back in 2012. I was probably more talky and less questiony.
Right.
Choice of words there.
Yep.
So
I'm game for them to hit the Oxford English dictionary.
Yeah, their words, talky and questiony.
Yeah.
And I definitely changed a lot more, sort of more facilitating, in a classroom, rather than giving the answers straight away. And I was afraid of silent pauses. Anytime you ask a question and no one gives you the answer, you just
Feel it.
you hate it. It's
Yeah.
horrible. You feel it. Now I don't. I had one recently with a client, and she said, "I am not moving until you give me someone's given me an answer."
Yeah.
And I would stand there at the start at the top of the
Like teacher.
top of the class.
Anyone?
Yeah.
Anyone?
Yeah, no, yeah. And then when someone eventually then did raise their hand, I said, "I told you I'd get you."
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was nervous for sure. And I think like, especially 2 weeks into that, I think it was the next week, we had to go over to Chicago to be trained on how to deliver Radisson's Yes, I Can. And then I wasn't just going in front of, my colleague at Edwardian, but I was over in Chicago with L&D and HR people from around Radisson. And I had to do a teach back of, I think it was a coaching course. I did a teach back of a coaching course. And I know I probably blagged it at that point as well. But again, that preparedness is so important when you're training. Know what you want to say, know the key themes that you want to say when you're doing it. So yeah.
Nothing prepares you for the first time that you have to stand in front of people and deliver something meaningful. When I worked on ships, I got promoted into a job, the deputy food and beverage manager, as it was called then. It was effectively second in charge of the F&B department, although not really, because the title suggests that, but really you're just in charge of the galley backroom staff in terms of keeping it clean and plates flowing and cutlery being where it should be on those lovely blue trays. But part of that was orientation training for new joiners on food safety and things like that. And it was literally, congratulations on being promoted, new cohort joining on the next turnaround, 200 people, deliver. And you're like, well, here's the material. And you're like, okay, I can do that.
Yeah. Isn't that a big curse of this industry though? It's promoting people that are good operators and not giving them the tools to help them.
Yeah.
Preferably before they're promoted.
Yeah.
But certainly during. Whatever industry can you at 20 or 21 be managing a team of 20 people and be expected to understand how to give feedback and how to train people and how to engage and delegate and everything else. Like, it's a lot of important skills in leadership. And if you don't have that formal stuff in place, you only learn from the person that managed you learn from the person that managed them, and so on. And so you get a culture of management that was probably taught from someone 3 or 4 generations before.
Indeed.
When you don't have something in place to show them that there's a different way.
Yeah. So, And you know, especially in what was effectively quite a dry topic as well, right? Like, I mean, there's not many people that get super excited about the prospect of learning about food safety.
Oh no, food safety should never, ever, ever be on day one orientation. Ever. Food safety should be an online learning ever. It needs to be done.
Not ever.
It's very important and very compliant. But there are some very good online learning providers out there that do online stuff. As you progress upwards, you need to do more classroom stuff. But the orientation should be about literally standing up and saying, this is where our company has been. This is what we're about. This is where we're going. Join us. And
we're very happy to have you here.
Yeah, it should be about inspiring people on day one. If you get that right, you've got people for longer than you would expect.
Yeah.
And throwing food safety into day one is a recipe for failure.
It was a very different time because
exactly.
Because it was also it was literally, okay, I'm going to deliver this training. I'm probably not going to be delivering it especially well, but at the end of it, you will sign that to say you've had it, and then the company don't have any liability. So thanks very much. Off you pop to your job. That was literally how it felt. That's not how it would be now.
No, but I agree. No, but you still see it now, though, Phil. You do still see it.
Yeah.
When I if I'm working with hotel or restaurant openings, and then compliance is important. But if you've got 6 weeks to train somebody, just do 30 minutes a day getting the compliance done. Get it done in the morning so that it's done where people are a little bit more awake and they're not bombarded with stuff. There's ways of putting it in, and there's ways of making it fun. There's particularly for refreshers, like have competitions between sites to see who's the most compliant. Because as soon as you throw a competition in, chefs in particular will want to win it.
Very good. Compliance competitions. Ooh.
Yeah.
Who knew? Who knew? Anyway, let's continue. I'm very conscious that time is ticking.
Yes, I know. I'm looking at it thinking, we're about halfway through my career at this point.
Yeah, indeed. So after Edwardian, what happened
next? Edwardian, big change in my personal life. I met my now wife And I was very early in relationship with her, and I had an opportunity to go and work in Qatar, working in L&D for palaces and casinos, and I was ready to jump ship and go. But a month before I was about to do that, I met my wife, and I
Damn
decided.
it.
I thought I know. I've regretted it ever since. No, not really. It was one of those. I had two job offers. I had that one, and then I had one for L&D manager at Principal Hotels. They'd just been taken over by Starwood Capital, and they were investing a lot of money in food and beverage at the time. And my role would have been, it was in the end, to go in and put the training plans in place and help to launch the food and beverage outlets in Edinburgh first at the George Hotel, and then down in York. And so yeah, I felt great about the person that I met, and I thought, I'm not moving to Qatar. I want to see where this goes. So, and I'm now married with two kids. So it was the right decision for me, for many reasons, actually, but it was definitely the right reason for me. And yeah, so I did that for 1 year, and it was a really great experience. Collaborated at the time, Des McDonald and Steve Tonkin and Paul McKenna from now of Red Branch Hospitality was sort of consulting as well, and about the restaurant brand. And I just developed all of the training for the pre-opening, the orientation, getting all the suppliers in and stuff. And I had a month, it culminated at the end of being a month in Edinburgh, sort of living there Monday to Friday, having the best time. I mean, this year was during the Fringe Festival, sort of
Nice.
the pre-opening, all the team there, great team of people to open that. Again, some really good friends today. And yeah, when I was working for Principal, I had a phone call from Principal from recruitment manager at Caprice Holdings and Birdie Clubs called Holly Giddings, who were kind of a theme, very good friend of mine to this day now. And she said, "Yeah, hi, we're calling from Caprice Holdings. We've got a new role, learning and development manager. Would you be interested?" I'd spent all my career in hotels. I had no idea who Caprice Holdings were.
Right,
So
yeah.
I sort of blagged it on the phone, and I had my work phone in my other hand. I said, "Yeah, Caprice Holdings." Googled it. Caprice of the Ivy, Jay Sheeky. Yes, I'd be very much interested in coming in for an interview. Yeah, and I got the job with this is sort of my next role. So I was with Principal for a year, joined Caprice Holdings in the Birdie Club, and I was there for 5 years, 2015 to 2020, or 2022-ish. Actually, it was 7 years in the end. And yeah, I built learning and development with them from the ground up. So everything, orientation, vision, values, all their management training, leadership training. I was essentially looking after L&D for about 1,500 staff. So the Caprice restaurants plus the private members clubs. Helped open Annabelle's, which was my first members club opening, the new Annabelle's opened in 2018. And that was a great experience.
Interesting as well, because you've got different brands that probably stand for different things under a marquee brand at the top of it. But I would imagine that the behaviours that you want to look for in somebody at Annabelle's are going to be different from somebody who is working at Jay Sheeky, or was there an overarching?
There is, yeah. I mean, that was a real struggle. I think at the start when we were looking at doing the vision and values for that, is what are the things that connect all of these properties together? They just happen to have been collected in one group. Jay Sheeky was open, I think, since 1896, the Ivy 1917. So huge amount of history for these. But what were the fundamental principles that were the same, that you would recruit for, that you would go into? And actually the people were, wherever you were, the people, it was just great hospitality. Members clubs obviously a lot more, I should say, the recognition, remembering the members' names, their preferences, because they're paying a premium to enter a place before they've even sat down and had a drink. So there is a much higher level of expectation for guests that are paying to walk in through the front door. So that level of hospitality needs to be, slightly more elevated one. And putting together the training programs for that were quite straightforward. The main focus really initially was around management and leadership, putting in the fundamentals like train the trainer, coaching, how to give feedback, and sort of building that program in place. And that was a great time. I even experimented a little bit with recruitment during that time. And I know it's your forte, but I did not enjoy it.
Not anymore. I'm not a recruiter anymore.
No, it's not now. It was your forte.
Yeah, well, that's debatable. But anyway, yes.
I was there. COVID hit 2020. That's all I'll say on that one. But I had a great year off. Well, 7 months off. My son was born the year before, and I was furloughed, and he didn't walk at the start of COVID, and he was walking at the end of it, and I got to spend a lot of time with my family, which was good. I've been working for Caprice for a while, so
Yep.
Anyway, came back. They split Burley and Caprice into two separate entities. So came back in looking after L&D specifically for Burley. And then hotels drew me back in again.
Is that just when you thought you were out?
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Someone should put that in a movie. And I saw that the Peninsula London was opening, and they were looking for a director of learning and talent development.
Yeah,
And
I mean that's going to turn ahead, isn't it? Really?
Oh my! I had to interview for it. It was the longest interview process I have ever had. It was 7 interviews to get the job. I have never been in a process that long. It was, I mean, they were really, obviously they're trying to find the right person, so they were really particular about who you met, and I got the job, and went from when was that, 2022 to 2024. So I went in as director of L&D and had a team of 2. So it's the first time I was managing as well. So I had to kind of develop that management.
Shows you the importance of the department, I suppose, and especially through a pre-opening. I can imagine
pre-opening, it's vital. It's so. I mean, I learned so much in those 2 years, just about the quality of hospitality, the importance of connection, the fine attention to detail, the power of storytelling, but above all else, resilience. Because this is the first major pre-opening that I was involved in, where, and I know now every pre-opening has delays, every single one.
Yeah.
But I'm a planner by nature, so I am very, it must be this, and plans would change, and you'd have to be so adaptable. And I came up weirdly, I saw a mantra. I saw this LinkedIn post. And it was at the time we were just about to welcome another 50 people. It was in the January. So we'd had a small team of 20 to 30 for the first few months. So it's a really nice, close-knit group of people, having a new cohort of people coming in the January. And I saw this quote. It was a LinkedIn post interviewing old people that were close to or past retirement. And it said, what advice would you give to the younger generation? This one line really stuck out for me. It said, it doesn't need to be perfect for it to be wonderful.
Oh, nice.
And that absolutely stuck with me. And I remember sitting down with the team just before we delivered the first major orientation that we put so much effort in, and the storytelling and the tour of the hotel and stuff. I said, guys, we are going to not get things quite right. We are going to mess up a little bit, and that's fine, because it doesn't have to be perfect for it to be wonderful. As long as the team have an engaging orientation, that's fine. And that is a mantra that's sort of I picked up from a LinkedIn post somewhere that sort of carries me in quite good stead for the pre-opening phase.
It is an absolute belter, and also kind of gives credence to the comment that we made on I think it was off microphone actually, about running a podcast is like a personal MBA. There's another piece of wonderful mantraism that will now wash over me.
I loved it was a great experience, and I've never been so emotional that I have been reduced to tears at work before, except once in my entire, other than the parking I got for the tray of cutlery.
Yeah.
But this was through sort of passion. We trained like 500-600 people, and it was opening day, and doors opened at 11 o'clock, and I stood there in the lobby, and I was just taking it in, and I was just watching, and it was a combination of 18 months of very hard work and training, and training while the fire alarm goes off, and all the various stuff that you do. And I just stood there and I looked around. They had a live 4-piece orchestra playing on the balcony at the top, which was playing like really emotional music. So that's probably what cued me as well.
Yeah.
But I had this like upswell of pride in seeing just it's an open hotel. It's everybody doing what they've been trained and hired to do, and smiling faces, and I get goosebumps now just sort of thinking about it. But so I look back at that time with real pride, and some it was a great achievement for me. Some really lovely people that I met there and still continue to be friends with to this day. And I drove past it the other day in a taxi, and it's like
started crying again.
Yeah, I was in floods of tears. The cab driver, no, I didn't stop crying again. But no, it's definitely, when I see the hotel, I just have this kind of this kind of warmth when I look at the hotel, sort of even now. It was a great 2 years.
No doubt. And also, it was one of London's highest profile 5-star openings for a while. As well. I think everybody,
a lot of pressure.
Yeah, totally. Like all eyes on it, right? The industry's eyes were on this new opening, which was great. You wrote in your notes, are you happy to go there in terms of the probation extension?
Yeah, no, I'm very happy to go there. Yeah, no, very happy. Because again, it's like learning from your mistakes, right? So I was in there. I was doing an okay job, I think. And I think the biggest thing for me in that transition was going from Burley and Caprice, which is privately ran, not corporate, very much not freewheeling's the wrong term, but definitely more so than working for a big corporate entity like like HSH and Peninsula.
Mm.
And about 2 months in, I sat down with the HR director at the time. She goes, "Listen, we're not, in a nicer way, it wasn't done in a bad way, but we're not entirely convinced that it's going to work out. We're going to extend your probation." Much nicer HRE words we used.
Yeah.
I can assure you, you're not good enough.
Yeah. Dan,
We're not passing you.
what the France are you playing at
Yeah,
here?
yeah. And I was like, okay. I got some feedback on what it was, and it was literally, I wasn't, it was the luxury mentality hadn't quite kicked in yet for me in terms of how much of a higher level it was at Peninsula and HSH, and I needed to at the time, and this is a big reason why I left Peninsula in the end anyway. But I was living in Lincolnshire. I was traveling 100 miles to work every day, leaving at 5:30, doing a job that I loved doing, getting home at 7, and I kind of wasn't put in the. It wasn't quite working out. I felt shattered all the time. So I went back home and I spoke with my wife about it, and she said, "Dan, do you know what? I know we were sort of talking about it potentially during the pre-opening period, but I think you need to move down there for like Monday to Friday." And we talked about it, and we figured that we could kind of make it work. And I moved down there for about 4 months, living in a room in Fitzrovia in this woman's flat. And I just came down on a Monday, worked really, really hard, and just learned and got better, and just and it wasn't you're down here now, your commitment is there. I just think I needed to really focus on learning this brand, because like I said earlier, you're a salesman for the brand, you're an ambassador. When you're in L&D, you are an ambassador of that brand. Every person you meet, they need to see that you are that brand when you are training, and that you believe in what it is. And I was down there for 4 months, and I obviously I passed my probation, but it was it was that initial period that it was hard. It was a little bit, I was really gutted. You think you were doing a good job, and then when you think about it and the feedback comes in, I made the decision, and
and that's exactly what we were talking about earlier on, right? As well, around the way that you take the constructive criticism around. But actually, what it did here was a total catalyst for you in terms of
it was
reigniting. Okay, look inward. What are they right? Yes. Okay. What are we going to do about it? Do we want to take on this challenge, or are we going to walk away from it? And all of these things now, with reflection, start to lead you to the direction that you should take.
Exactly. And if I'd not done it, if I'd not done that, I would have been one of the. I mean, this was the high profile London opening for a while, and Peninsula were trying to get a hotel in London for 30 years, and it's a 1.4 billion pound hotel project, and the attention to detail that there was never going to be an opening that I just had to be a part of that opening because of my love of the industry and and my love of hospitality, and it's that I had FOMO otherwise, didn't want to miss out on that.
No, absolutely. Well, I mean, it was a hell of a thing to get involved with. I've no doubt. As I said, it's one of the, well, maybe the highest profile new opening in London for quite some time. But obviously you did have that moment whereby you had to kind of look within and see what you needed to do to be successful. And part of that was this relocation away from family through the week. Talk to me about that, because that's not something that I think a lot of people actually consider or would do.
That's it was a difficult time, because I would essentially leave my family on a Monday, stay in London all the way through to Friday, and then speak to them on FaceTime and stuff. My kids were only 3 and 1, going into 4 and 2 at the time, so very young. And an amazingly supportive wife through everything, and knew that it was something that I'm incredibly passionate about, and it's something that I love doing, and I really wanted to make it work. And that was what I'd find kind of the biggest struggle about, when you're away from home, you're focused on work and you're focused on the people and the projects, and it would take me a good 24 hours of getting back home to get back into dad mode and into husband mode. I sort of kick in around Saturday at some point. It would all kind of click back into place again, and then you'd have Sunday, and then it was bye, see you, see you again in 5 days. And I sort of felt like I was missing stuff, and I only did it for about 3 or 4 months. Once I knew that the hotel was being delayed again, that's when I was like, right, no, I've got to come back home, and I'm just gonna, I'd leave my house at 5:30 every morning, and to get to the hotel for about 8 o'clock, because I live 100 miles away from London, and then I get back home about 7. And it's reliant on that Piccadilly line being working and being on time to get from Hyde Park Corner all the way back to King's Cross with enough time to jump on a train.
Yeah, and it's a creaky line at best as well, right? I mean, it's one up from that push me pull you thing.
It goes one of two ways. Either the train is 1 minute away or it's 10 minutes away, and that's the difference between the 5. So anyway, I was doing a job that I love doing, and I was really driven to make that success. I had a great team of people that I was working with, a brilliant L&D team that would just made the job so easy. The Dorcas and Mika, who were great and really amazing L&D professionals, and a brilliant HR team. And I will say one of the best things about Peninsula was the staff canteen. Unbelievable,
right?
Unbelievable staff canteen that I miss very dearly even to this day.
Yes.
But obviously it's the people. Anyway, I was obviously doing the pre-opening. The hotel got to being open, and I'd always had this thought in the back of my mind that this is something that I want to do in the future. And all of the experience that I'd gained, not just in Peninsula, but primarily so. Fingers in so many pies, loads of planning. You are basically an internal consultant for 2 years, and I loved that. And then when you get into the day-to-day operations, it's more about compliance and about doing things that are really important in L&D and focusing on the team. But I felt like actually what I really loved about it was that partnership, that consultation piece, and like working really closely with the GM and the managing director, and so that's when it sort of came to a head. It was like a wave that was sort of building in me, and then it just sort of crashed. And I thought, actually, I can do this. I think I could start my own consultancy and to sort of take control of doing the thing that I love doing, but take control of it, whereby I could spend more time with my family and get that balance. Or it's not really a balance, though, is it? It's more like a work-life Jenga. It's like pull one bit out and another. But it's not really a balance. But I needed to put more of a focus on that side. And you might say, anticipating a question you're going to ask, which is daft. But
now I feel like pressure. I've got pressure to ask it.
So if you were going to ask a question right now, no. So the when you're starting a new business, that is a lot of work. But I'm able to do it at home. I'm able to drop my kids off to school every day. I'm able to do a lot of the consultancy work that I do, where I'm designing training and working on training. I can do that at home on my desk.
Yeah, and
I can be present. I can do pickups. I can go do the Harvest Festival at 11 o'clock in the morning when I'm at home, because that's something that I have time to do. So yeah, that was the turning point for me in wanting to start Flourish.
Yeah. But do you know what? It's one of those things, because as I said, not many people would do that split away from family in order to make stuff work. And don't get me wrong, maybe there was also some weekends where you go, God, I can't wait to get back to work after that weekend.
No. I love my children. How dare you?
Yes. We can move on. But yeah, as you listening to your journey so far, I mean, this almost feels like all roads lead here.
Yeah, it definitely felt that way. I think the thing that really gave me the confidence was the connections that I've made with everybody in the industry and the reputation that I built. I mean, I'm very, very fortunate. I know how fortunate I am, because I'd found the career and the industry that I wanted to work in at 16. So I've been fortunate that I've been able to build a good amount of experience with amazing brands, working with amazing people, that a lot of people don't tend to start that journey until they're in their sort of mid-20s and early 30s. And I think I've just sort of had this single passion for hospitality that I couldn't sort of. You're right, it did kind of feel like Slumdog Millionaire moment,
Yeah.
That's kind of what it felt like. Yeah,
great way of summarizing that, actually. You're a movie man, aren't you? That's Slumdog.
The Godfather. I'm a very visual. I mean, literally, if you're in a WhatsApp group with me, I just send you GIFs the entire time. I could just think of a movie quote and just send it straight away.
Yeah.
And I'm an encyclopedia of Friends, the TV show.
Very good.
Friends.
We were always destined to be friends, I think, mate. But
tish.
That actually wasn't an intentional pun. I did actually mean the sentiment behind it as well. But there we are. Yeah. I suppose as well, the Peninsula was, just to focus on that very briefly, before we move on, was a massive tick in the box as well,
Yeah.
like in terms of, notwithstanding, super luxury products,
Yeah.
but, a super high profile
Yeah.
new opening, but also
Yeah.
you're learning within that process, right? Because, if we go back to that moment whereby you had to look inward,
Mm.
what a pivotal point that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. It's a huge crossroads. Yeah. I mean, it taught me a lot. And luxury hospitality, definitely. I mean, you think you understand luxury hospitality, and then you go work for a brand like Peninsula and HSH, and then you realize the sheer attention to detail that goes into every single part of not just the build but the entire guest experience.
Mm.
Everything is planned for. Everything is, you have your standards like every hotel group does, but like true hospitality is around having your standards as a core and being empowered and confident and well trained enough to veer off from that standard if it suits the need of that guest, and be able to like read guest cues in such a intricate way, or overhear a conversation and then relay it to a different team members. Yeah, it was a great experience, but I think the resilience part was a big thing for me, both in terms of personally, being away from family for a period of time, but also professionally, because I love to plan stuff and make sure if I've got these training plans in place for all the departments with the dates in and everything else. And then when the dates get pushed back, you kind of have to be really adept at being able to say that's fine.
Yeah.
This is how I change it. And and I was given advice from it was the director of learning and development for HSH, Carrie. And I remember a meeting with her. She said, the problem is you're trying to plan for every eventuality, even the things you don't know are going to happen yet, but you're trying to plan for it. You can't do that. You're just going to spend your life planning.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, that's exactly right. You just have to make sure you've got the ability to adapt quickly.
Which is
And I
counterintuitive
think
for a
that's,
planner, right?
oh, yeah, it is. It is. It's also, but it also kind of, it helps me a lot in what I'm doing now in the consultancy, because I work with restaurant openings over the last year and a half, like a couple of them, and inevitably things change, and you have to be ready to just change when you can and alter things at like a minute's notice.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. Right. Well, let's talk about Flourish.
Sure.
One of the things I'd love to ask about anybody who started a business, because for me, when I started my business, this was the most challenging thing of everything, which was
Name.
the name. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was weird. Props to my wife on that one. The two of us were really thinking about it over the weekend. This long weekend, I knew I wanted to do it, and I thought, I can't make this real. I don't know. Were you the same? Like, you can't make it real until you have a name. Once you've got a name,
Totally.
then you know how to bring it alive.
Yeah.
And I was consulting ChatGPT for advice on different names and ideas, and obviously checking to see what's been done before. But when I saw when we sort of collectively, weirdly, we both came up with, we were texting each other. She was doing something in one room, I was doing something in another. We both text each other Flourish at the same time. I looked it up. I thought, okay, yep, this works as a business. But Flourish, because that's the whole purpose, right? You invest in people, you spend time training and developing people, and they will flourish. And I have to give, what brought it to life is a really good friend of mine called Steve Humphreys, who his own time designed my entire branding in his own time to help me out. And then I had this idea of the leaf, sprouting and growing, and he turned it into, as soon as I saw that and I saw the leaf, I thought that's exactly what my consultancy is about. It's about helping people grow in the industry, and also making people realize what a great industry it is to work in.
Yeah, totally. So talk us through how that's been, because what are you now, 2 years?
Nearly, yeah. To be 2 years in, officially 2 years in March. Don't know when the podcast is going out, so I'll say 2 years. But I started it
probably
in
a bit sooner than March.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Can't guarantee that.
It was, yeah, okay. It was. We'll cut that bit out. It it was, about a year and a half, approaching 2 years, and it's going. Year two in particular is going really well. Year one, I was very fortunate. I had again, for a friend in the industry, a guy named Paul McKenna, who's a restaurant consultant, was doing a little bit of work with the Kimpton Fitzroy in London, and got me in the door to do that first pitch meeting with them. And that kind of had me a client that I could go straight into, bringing revenue in for the first 6 months, where I knew that I could then start to grow. So that was really lucky. And I've had a few really good clients. The biggest one that I have at the moment is Law Group. That's a huge project, sort of a 12-month and hopefully beyond project with them, working with an amazing team of people like John Dawson, who's an incredible people and culture director. And he's actually a really great person to work with as well. He's a great person to learn from, because just because you own your own consultancy doesn't mean you shouldn't ask people for advice.
For sure.
and shoot ideas
Yeah.
off. So yeah.
Friend of the show as well. Shout out to,
he's a great guy.
Yeah, good lad.
Yeah, shout out to John.
I don't know how Sheffield Wednesday are doing at the moment, but
yeah, no, I don't know either. But I'm a Chelsea fan, so I'm not. They're a bit hit and miss at the moment as well. And he alienates 90% of the people listening.
I was about to say, should we wrap it up?
Yeah,
there, to be honest,
yeah, let's wrap that up there. Goodbye. Thank you very much, Phil. Really appreciate it. And yeah, so this project's been great. Sort of developing a 6 workshop leadership module for their managers globally, and not only sort of researching and putting it together, but also going out and delivering it to their hotels in Washington and Amsterdam and New York and London. And so I've had the pleasure of international travel, which has been great. And I've done hotel, restaurant opening little bits in Mayfair and various other projects, House of Cocoa. Like, I'm just getting some really lovely clients, and it's the beauty of it is, I think maybe only 2 or 3 of those have come through requesting the website. Everything else has come through connections of people. Isn't that it just says it all, right?
Yeah.
It's the industry.
Totally.
A friend of a friend, or someone that knows you that reaches out, or managers that I might have trained when they were supervisors back at Caprice that sort of reach out to me,
Yeah.
And yes, it's been great. But particularly over the last sort of 3 months, going to do the training internationally, it sort of made me realize how much of a help it's been training people in London, because I was a bit nervous going out in Amsterdam and New York. Do they get my sense of humor? Is my training going to land in the same way? And you realize that
no,
London, no one laughed. In fact, I'm not renewing my contract. Sadly, it didn't quite work out. No, it's you realize that it's that hospitality is universal. And the beauty of London is that it's just this melting pot of different cultures that you realize you've met everyone from around the world in one city.
Yeah.
And it is universal language, hospitality. And the needs are exactly the same in every single country in terms of learning and development needs. It does not matter where you're from. You still need to teach people how to engage with their teams and give feedback, and how to train people in the right way, and how to make a guest connection, because it's human at the end of the day, right? That's what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been going. Yeah, I'm enjoying it very much. Looking forward to year 2, year 2.5, year 3. So yeah, thank you for asking.
Well, absolutely no problem whatsoever. I mean, look, it's a really interesting journey that you've had so far. As I say, it is an all roads lead here. I mean, I suppose that is everybody's journey at the end of the day, right? There's only this road that you're on right now.
Even things you think were errors or mistakes, you learn from it,
Yeah.
and it sets you on a path that you're probably meant to be on anyway, I suppose.
Yeah. And let's not get into destiny and fate.
No,
all of that as well. I'm sure
not that type of podcast, Phil.
There's probably a movie that we could call up that would summarize that, but I can't think of it right now. So
no.
But no, look, I wish you continued flourishing success.
Thank you.
I didn't even have that written down to be honest.
Oh,
but
you're just such a professional, Phil.
Well, I feel a little bit depressed that I went there, to be honest. But no
one's judging you, mate. No one's judging.
Well, I don't know about that. But no, I from the outside looking in, you and I have known each other for a couple of years now, and you're absolutely one of hospitality's good guys. It's great to see you going from strength to strength. I'm not going to use the flourishing joke again. And wish you all the very best.
Hospitality.co.uk.
Yeah. It'll be in the show notes anyway, don't worry.
No, I'm joking. You can say that bit again, mate. I'm sorry.
That's the stuff that gives it colour and richness.
Yeah, that's true.
But so look, we'll keep a very close eye on what you're doing next, and wish you well with the next phase of Flourish and beyond.
Thank you, mate. It's been a real treat and a privilege to talk to you today.
Likewise. Take care.
Thanks.
Cheers. And there we have it. So awesome to get some time with Dan, a wonderful business and order he is creating in a part of hospitality I think we can all agree is vitally important to our success. We will of course be back next week with another awesome journey from hospitality, so have yourselves a cracking week, and I'll see you then.